Throughout the 3,000-year-long history of China, exactly 558 men rose to the title of emperor just to get replaced or dedrunked by one another. But among those hundreds of emperors, only one woman managed to claw her way to the throne, and clawing. She did Historically Facts Part 2. This is Wuzu. Wu's childhood, Tang. Born in the year 624 in a small city somewhere in the middle of China, or rather, the Tang Dynasty. You see, as opposed to American history, where it simply started somewhere on the East Coast and slowly expanded towards the West, then while growing breaks somewhere in the middle and then unites once again, China's history and borders are a hot diggity mess. But all you need to know for this video story is that China is now split up like this, and our spicy main character lives in the Tang Dynasty. Wu spent her teenage life like the average Chinese teenager, used to clean the house, learn how to cook, and wait until she reached the age to become a housewife for a considerably older man. In Chinese dynasty terms, that meant around the age of 14, when she was presented as one of the candidates to become the current emperor's concubine. And, surprise, surprise, she, together with a dozen others, ended up being picked by the emperor himself. Now, to make sure we're all on the same page, being a concubine basically meant being a honky monkey for the emperor, and usually that's all they ended up achieving in their lives. But Wu was different, and she had a plan to become much more than that. That plan started when the current emperor, Emperor Taizong, passed away from a terrible illness, which in Chinese dynasty terms means he got poisoned by Buddhists. Out of Taizong's 9 sons, his younger son Li Ji ended up becoming the next emperor, and Wu immediately took advantage of the opportunity. However, the only way we can explain this opportunity is by taking a closer look at the newly appointed Emperor Li Ji. The first question that might come to mind is, how did the younger son end up getting the throne? Isn't it usually the oldest one? Well, yes, it is. But Li Ji's case is a bit special, and we could even describe his road to the throne as a bit lucky. His father, Emperor Taizong, had multiple wives, and because the Chinese like to keep things complicated, there also used to be a specific hierarchy of wives. The favorite and highest-ranked wife of Emperor Taizong was Empress Jiangsan, and she bore 3 out of the 9 sons. This in dynasty terms meant we could remove 6 of the 9 boys from the potential successor list. That left us with Li Chengqian, Li Tai, and Li Zi. If all of them behaved nice and loyal, Chengqian, being the oldest of the 3, would be the one succeeding the throne. But Li Tai, being conscious that middle brother meant a slim chance to succeed his father, actively tried to win his father over to leave the throne to him instead. Chengqian, hearing how Tai was slowly being favored by their father, started to worry about his future legacy. In fear of losing out, he set up a big and elaborate conspiracy with powerful family members and military leaders to dethrone his father. Unfortunately for Chengqian, his plan never saw the light of day, because the emperor found out first. This meant Taizong was forced to exile his oldest son, where he died shortly after at the age of 26. It's now a 1v1. That left us with Li Tai and Li Zi. Tai, being the older one, was supposed to be the successor. Whether you believe it or not, Li Ji didn't actively try to hinder his brother from becoming emperor. In fact, it seems he was kind of okay with it, and initially, so was their father. But over time, Taizong started to doubt Tai's sincerity. He asked himself, if Tai hadn't started the rivalry with his older brother Chengqian, would Chengqian have even felt the need to conspire? On top of those doubts, Emperor Taizong's brother-in-law started suggesting that Li Ji would be a better fit than Li Tai. This only deepened Tai's anxiety. His way of coping? Actively intimidating his younger brother, threatening to tell their father that Jai was also part of Chengqian's conspiracy. When Emperor Taizong noticed Li Zai troubled by his brother's intimidation, and after hearing Li Zai's account, his mind was set. He exiled Li Tai. Just like that, Li Jai became crown prince, simply by being a good boy. And good boy he was. He loved his father, spent his time as crown prince, keeping him happy, and touched the emperor deeply. When Taizong was on his deathbed, Crown Prince Ji stayed by his side, going without food for days, constantly weeping about his father's fate. A couple of days later, Emperor Taizong passed away, and Li Ji ascended to become Emperor Gaozong. Now Wu's rise to power begins. Being told all of this, how would you describe the new emperor? A brave, heroic, charismatic leader, or rather a mommy's boy who took the wrong turn in IKEA? This was Wu Zetian's golden opportunity. Someone rose to the top who could be influenced by, let's say, one of his wives. and Wu managed to smooth talk her way into marrying the new emperor. But unfortunately for Wu, this was still China, where multiple wives existed and everyone tried to ruin each other's lives for power. Wu ended up between two rivals. The first was Gaozong's wife, Empress Wang, who, as first wife, held the higher rank. The second rival was a concubine, Xiao Shufei. All three tried to win the emperor over, but Wu had everything carefully planned. First, she used years of sweet-talking experience she gained with the previous emperor, basically Gaozong's father, to win Gaozong's favor. Then, to secure her position long-term, she framed Empress Wang for the death of Wu's own infant daughter, whom Wu may or may not have killed herself. Finally, she influenced Gaozong to deal with Xiao Shufei, reducing her rank to commoner and imprisoning her for life. Gaozong, being the mommy's boy he was, stayed under Wu Zetian's influence for 5 more years. But an emperor controlled by an empress was nothing unusual in Chinese history. What happened next? Gaozong suffered a stroke, which allowed Wu to finally step into power with the excuse that her husband was unfit to rule. And she did, ruling for another 23 years. But all good things must come to an end. When Gaozong passed away in his sleep, Wu's excuse vanished. Normally, the emperor's son would take over, meaning Wu would lose everything she ruled for nearly 3 decades. But Wu wasn't about to let that happen. During her time in power, she bore sons. Unfortunately for them, Wu carefully exiled or eliminated rivals until her own son was positioned to succeed. When her eldest son ascended the throne, Wu essentially locked him inside the palace and ruled on his behalf for 7 years, showering him with food and concubines while she ran the empire. Eventually, preferring her younger son, she exiled him too. Finally, in 690, Wu Zetian forced her son to abdicate, establishing her own Zhou dynasty, becoming the first and only female emperor in Chinese history. All she had to do was murder, exile, manipulate, and bear children. Mission complete. But what was life like under Wu's rule? For commoners, fairly average. For rivals in the palace, ruthless. And as she grew older and fell ill, powerful men and generals saw opportunities to overthrow her. Peacefully from illness. This is the bizarre story of the rise and fall of China's first and only female emperor.